Hi and welcome to Bookkeepers Bootcamp. I'm Zoe Whitman. I'm here with Jo Wood. Hey Jo, how are you?
I am good. Excited to be back. Day 2 already. Lots of people joining us. When you join us, remember to go in the comments and let us know how you're joining us, where you're from. #live if you're here with us live. Nice to see you.
Oh, lovely to see you. We're really excited about today's session because we're going to tell you about 10 tried and tested ways to find clients without using social media. And when we were preparing for this, one of the reasons this is happening is that we are big fans of social media. We're here right now. You're probably watching us on Facebook. Most people are. Actually, let us know in the comments where you're watching this, because we see lots of Facebook comments and the occasional LinkedIn or YouTube person. So social media is obviously a thing. It's free, it's available. Why wouldn't we use it? But also, do you remember there was a day when we didn't have social media and where we used to go out and do everything without needing to look at a computer or check out updates or comment on things? And I feel like we have this massive opportunity here where there's lots of free advertising that we can do that wasn't available to us before. Like, we could go out and ultimately create almost like our own TV show or our own radio station. That's what the Bookkeepers Podcast is all about, right? So we don't need to stick to the old ways of doing things, but those kind of old ways of doing things, the tried and tested things, can be a really good way to elevate what you're doing. And if you listened to the podcast yesterday with Jo Swan, and she was talking about PR, and she was talking about in social media, we're talking to the people who hear us all the time. Now, I feel like that's not necessarily true. It's always growing and there are new people coming in. But if you do something outside of your usual social media space, you can reach more people too. And that's what we want to do. And that's what the opportunity is.
It's really funny because in the past, I remember when I was building my business, it was all about the methods we're going to talk about today. And there was fear and trepidation, and I felt very introverted and I didn't want to do it. And then social media comes around, and at first you're like, oh, that's easier. That's easier because, and then you're like, oh no, it's not easier, because all of it is about being visible. All of it is about sharing ourselves as an expert and sharing what we can do and our services and getting to know people. They're just different ways and different platforms. And actually, I think there is something to be said about knowing that you're going to be nervous about doing anything. But hopefully some of these, but it's about picking and choosing. It's like a pick and mix. You get to pick and choose what you're going to want to do, what you're going to want to try. And you don't know unless you try it whether it's going to be the thing for you. And it doesn't mean that everything that we're talking about on our list is going to be right for you today. But you might think, do you know what? I've not thought of that. I'm going to give it a go. So remember, if there's anything you hear today, to use that light bulb. Do you want to go and find the light bulb now, the light bulb emoji? And remember, you use the light bulb emoji and then you write what it is that you've heard, because someone else might think, oh, I hadn't thought of it like that. And you're going to be sharing your knowledge with them, and they might be thinking, or you might think of something that's triggers a thought and you think, oh, I could do this or I could do that off of the back of something that we said. So really excited to see what you think is going to work for you today.
Yes. Okay. Shall we get stuck in then? 10 tried and tested ways of finding clients without using social media. Number 1, networking events. I think this is the one that we think about the most, right? This is what feels like the obvious way. Let us know in the comments if you've attempted or you've tried to go to an event. I'm sure you went. Let us know if you've used networking events and how that's worked for you. I mean, we've used this. There are all sorts of networking events that might happen in your area. You might have Chamber of Commerce meetings or industry events, or even something around, I can remember going to things where there was like a speaker in a particular sort of niche area, and then there would be networking teas and coffees or drinks afterwards and those kind of things. That's a really good way to build that personal connection. You did a lot of networking, as I'm sure your mum, Jill, put a lot of pressure on you because that's her background too, to do lots of networking.
Yeah, and she knew it could work, and it did really work. I mean, I remember I used to go, I never joined BNI as a member initially because I was able to mum was the director of BNI, so she sometimes knew that there was like a space available. Maybe somebody couldn't turn up, and what happens is if you can go as a visitor. So I used to drop in and be a visitor now and again, but oh my goodness, the nerves that I used to have about turning up into a room full of strangers, about having to present my business, and and also, I was leaving young children at home. Felt like the middle of the night because it was an early start, which, when you get that what's that, the aeroplane or the holiday feeling, when you feel a bit icky in the morning because you're excited and nervous all at the same time. And maybe I was going to a venue that I'd never been to before. What was I going to eat? What was I going to say? Who was going to be there? You have all these things. So I completely and utterly get how people feel about these situations. But I used to practice over and over again the 60-second kind of introduction that I'd be saying. But really something great that Jill was going to be explaining to us loads of things tomorrow about nailing your 60-second pitch and how to utilize this beautifully in our 1 p.m. session at bootcamp tomorrow on Wednesday. But I did something once which really helped me. I kind of was telling everybody about what it was that I did and, who I was. That was a bookkeeper, where I came from, the kind of people that I helped with. But at the end, I kind of got this box and it's full of receipts, and I just tipped it out on the table. And I ended with, if your paperwork looks like this, you need me. And sat down. And because I knew what I was going to do at the end, and because it was going to be visual, it really helped me get to the end. And everyone laughed and they remembered me. And actually, I remember so clearly that 3 years after I did that, someone contacted me and said, I remember you from that day and I need you. And it ended up being a really long-term client of mine. So it proves that it does work. Those connections, those real life connections, if you can make yourself memorable, then it can work. But I'm not saying it's easy, but it's so well worth doing. And it gets you in practice, because even online, we're still doing exactly the same thing. We're just behind a computer screen or a phone screen, but we're still having to get out our message, who it is we are, how we help people, what it is that we do. We still have to articulate that, but it just feels kind of scary first thing in the morning, face to face, eyeball to eyeball with people. That feels kind of scary. Really well worth doing.
There are people here in the comments who are saying that they've been to different networking events. They may have enjoyed it, may not have enjoyed it. Lisa is saying, been to networking, but my ideal clients don't seem to be there. Someone else say, Lisa, another Lisa saying, I'm not very confident, but I'm faking it till I make it, which I love. Do you know, in that session tomorrow with Jill at 1 o'clock, we're going to be talking about your 60-second pitch, how to feel confident at a networking event, how to get the most out of it. And I would say one of the things that I think is really important when it comes to networking or any advertising you're doing, any kind of marketing you're doing at all, the person who sees it might not be your client for the future, but someone who sees it, if it is memorable enough or you are memorable enough, will tell someone else who has the problem that you solve. So this is why we've got to be really clear on who we help and with what, so we can discuss that. So networking events, that's your number one. Okay, next one then. Let's talk about referral programs. So this is where we all want to have, I'd like you to have an ideal client, kind of people that you love working with. And if you've got someone that you love working with and they're a really good client, they work in the way you need them to work, you've trained them really well, how do you find more of those? Because your life's going to be so much easier if you can bring other people into your network, into your client base who respect you, work within your boundaries, are the kind of clients that you can really serve in the best possible way. So we want to encourage more of those people into our business. Now, this isn't necessarily about doing a blanket referral program where you say to everybody, send me clients. But if you work really well with somebody and you think actually they might know other people who have businesses like that, and they're going to be the people who will express the value of what I do in a way that maybe Joe Blogs, another client who's always disorganized and late giving you everything, isn't going to be able to do. You kind of want to speak to those people and say, look, I'm looking for new clients at the moment. I've got a bit of capacity. Do you know anyone else that you think might need a bookkeeper at the moment? Would you be prepared to do an introduction? And you can give them an incentive to do that. So it might be that you give them some kind of a voucher or box of chocolates or something. Jo, I know you sent thank you presents before. Rather than incentivizing up front, just the sort of nice gratitude at the end.
Yeah, so I think that it's a two-pronged way of doing it, isn't it? So if someone naturally shares your details and refers you, it's about being grateful and thanking them for that, because that then kind of, it teaches a learned behavior as such. So there's a two-way doing it. So I've always really made sure that I really say thank you. And I've noticed more and more people do that. Like the other day, I shared some knowledge with someone completely like free of charge and just helped them. And then they sent me some flowers and I'm like, oh my goodness, you didn't have to do that. So I know how that makes me feel if someone says thank you to me. So I think it's a really good thing to practice and make it part of your systems. If someone refers you, then say thank you, however that is, whether that's sending a card or flowers or chocolates or a bottle of wine, whatever it is, just saying thank you. But yeah, making it actually going out to your favorite clients. And why I say favorite clients is because, exactly like Zoe said, they mostly have similar values to you. They will respect you. They are going to have maybe friends and people in their circle. If they like you, then they're going to refer people that they know are going to work well with you. But actually asking for referrals is something that sometimes feels alien to us. So obviously this is if you have clients already, but just reminding them that you're open for business and you've got capacity, because sometimes as well, when we're busy people might assume that we're too busy to take on more clients. So just letting them know that you've got capacity, and that if they meet anyone that's in a similar situation to them that could do with the same kind of service, that you're there. That can be, I think it's sometimes overlooked. It's overlooked that we can ask our current clients for referrals.
I think when you know who your ideal client is and you have a client that looks like that already, ask them everything, like find out everything about that industry or that sort of specialism. Like, how do they network with other businesses like them? Because that, if you can become part of that community, that's going to help you. I feel like that might be another one on our list, but I think that's something that's really key in terms of reaching more of the kind of people that you want to be with. So yeah, ask for the introduction. Okay, number 3, local advertising. So lots of people start out serving their local area. You might run a virtual practice. So maybe you're not thinking just about local advertising, but something that is open to you is to advertise in local newspapers or community boards. For us, we get this like local magazine that comes through, usually if there's some kind of event happening locally. There seems to be like a summer one and a winter one, or like a local business directory, the kind of like A5 thing you get with all the trades and everything in there. I always have a look through there, and I'm always amazed by that no one's there offering any kind of accountancy support or services. I just feel like and I remember speaking to someone in the Success Lounge the other day who told me how much it cost to advertise, and it wasn't very much. So a really straightforward one.
And look out for opportunities for events in your area looking for sponsorship, because this can be really cheap way of doing things. So I know that I've sponsored like the school Christmas fete and things like that, and then I'd have like, it was like £50 or something, but I had like a 2-page spread in the Christmas fete, little magazine and things like that. And then obviously being there on the day can kind of help out. But we have got members that sponsor football teams. We were saying that Karen Kennedy sponsors her local shinty team. So like any kind of local events, like teams, sports, schools, etc., are always going to be looking for opportunities for sponsorship. So that's very local area. But I've definitely done that in the past and got leads. Lots of parents at the school gates are running side hustles or businesses. And I mean, one of my biggest clients that in the practice that I've sold, actually my biggest client, turning over out monthly recurring revenue, nearly £3,000 a month. I met him at school gates.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah, and that was years ago, and he gave me and Paul a lift home from a local party one evening. We went to a 40th birthday party and we got talking, but we just maintained that friendship. And then he reached out to me once and said, "Oh, you know about this Xero thing, don't you?" And I told him about that and everything. And then it took a couple of years, but yeah, he still is a client for Johan now.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, do you know what? I would just had a little rummage around in my drawers here because I talking about local advertising. This is what I did. Well, I used to work in a sort of office space, like with other local businesses, which is a way to position yourself for local businesses, right? And we had these little newspapers printed up, and so they were, and so what I'm saying is, you could make your own advertising. You can make your own newspaper, make your own. If you know, I'm fortunate that I live with someone who knows how to do that. But there's nothing special about here. I just did some like good news story. That was when I won my Luca award. You know, that kind of thing. I've got some pictures in there of clients saying nice things, and I just left them around in the reception area. So, you know, that kind of thing. And I sent them out. I think I sent them out to existing clients and asked them to pass them on to somebody. So I'll stop rustling around now. But I think, you know, I think it's just thinking differently. A lot of the time, this is about thinking differently.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thinking outside the box. And even if you're running a virtual business, which I was 100%, it doesn't mean I'm going to waste the opportunities for good local clients that are aligned with my vision and goals and values. So everywhere is an opportunity. So I've done all of this kind of stuff while running an online business. It's about having like a multi-pronged approach, isn't it? Because you never know.
No, I agree. Next one then, industry advertising. So I know you're really good at this. So this is things like if you know your clients in a specific industry or space. So this is where you ask your existing client, where do you hang out? How do you get your knowledge and updates and technical updates? Where do you collaborate or get together as a industry? And then becoming part of that community. So this might be about exhibiting at events for those professionals or business owners. It might be getting involved in online communities or getting involved in in-person events. I know that you've exhibited, Jo,
yes,
at an industry event. Tell me about that.
So obviously we're talking about ways like that aren't social media, but thinking about like social media communities that then have in-person events. So that's what I've done. I've kind of sponsored someone's event that's not local. I ended up going to Birmingham for one of these, and it was a hefty investment, but it meant I had a table at the event. So I had a room full of my ideal client. But that meant I had to gather them. I don't know if any of you remember. It was like November last year, and I ended up creating a sweet stall, and I had I had sweetie bags, which I can't see them right now. My sweetie bags with a sticker on with a QR code, which when they scanned it, took them to my Calendly link to book in. So I gave them a sweet bag with my Calendly link on a QR code, and they filled up the sweeties. And then I just chatted to them while they were standing there. And I was like, tell me about your business. Have you got an accountant? Have you got a bookkeeper? What are you doing? How's things? How are you feeling? So yeah, it was again, thinking outside the box. It was an industry event. Did I want to have a big sign saying tax returns, annual accounts? No, I just had my logo up and loads of sweets. And then they didn't know what I did. So to get the sweets, they had to come and talk to me, which worked really, really well.
Yeah. I love that. Anything that brings people in. I always think about those, you know, when you go out to a nice restaurant or something, and it might have like a flower wall or a green wall or something, and you want to take photos by it. Anything like that where people want to stand by it because it's, or a mascot, if that's your thing, a big, I don't know, in my head I've got like an elephant mascot, I don't know, but like Mickey Mouse or whatever you want to be. Anything where we were at a bookkeeping event the other day, and there was someone who was like a red panda, right?
Yes.
So anything where people are going to want to go and stand by them and have a photo because it's kind of a bit of fun, or by the wall, or get some sweets, where you have people passing through who are drawn to you, who you can then chat to. Because I think we think that conversations have to be sales conversations immediately. It's just network building. It's just them going away, remembering the experience and knowing you were a helpful person. I think that,
Yes.
that's the goal.
Yes,
and then following
absolutely.
up, if there's a way you can capture people's email addresses and say,
I got 3 new clients. I got 3 new clients that day. And but also the other thing was I had existing clients in the room. So I think as well, getting into so if you've got exactly what Zoe said, if you've got existing clients and they're going to an event, you can see when they're going to events because you can see when they're buying tickets for things. So have a look and think, where are you going? Is there an opportunity for you to go along? You could go along as a delegate. You don't even have to advertise or have exhibit, but go along and have conversations with your ideal clients in the room. It's Buddy HR, that was it. The red panda or fox, whatever it was. Yeah.
Just exactly. Show up at the things. You don't have to exhibit. You just go and have some conversations with people. I used to go and sneak into design events where there were lots of creatives because there would be some kind of talk happening for that industry. I'd see the talk, found it quite interesting, hang around for drinks, have chats. That, and be probably the only person in the room who wasn't a creative. And then that starts the conversation. So, okay, love this. Right, number 5, Jo. Number 5 is offering your own workshops or seminars. So there are loads of opportunities. Remember that we do something which people don't understand. We have a skill set that people don't have themselves, and they want to know, they want to learn something from us, or they know they need to learn something from us. So we need to find a way to support them with that. And it's really easy for us to put on a Zoom webinar where people can sign up and come along, or an in-person meetup where, so real life example here, a drop-in session, like a clinic where people, if you've got a co-working space near you, or I don't know, somewhere where you can hire a room and hopefully have enough footfall. So like a co-working space would be good. I've definitely been in the kitchen area in a co-working space and done a drop-in clinic, and people can just book a little 15-minute slot and have a chat about a challenge that they've got. And then that actually really, it's not just you giving advice out, because I think sometimes it's easy to think, well, I've got time to sit here giving all my information away for free. It's really a fact-finding conversation. What's going on for you? Where are you stuck? Where you can then turn it into okay, great, I can help you with that. So we can take this forward. Let me tell you how we can, I don't know, what your service is going to look like. So it turns into a sales conversation. Alternatively, you could do some training on Xero or on the accounting software you use, or talk about tax returns. I used to do tax return sessions, like startup, what was it called? Like startup bookkeeping basics or something. We all have the skills and knowledge to do that.
I think what's interesting is when we're in a group like we are, our amazing community, sometimes we can think, everyone else knows more than me, I don't know everything, blah, blah, blah. But the average person in an average room does not know what you know. They know other things. They know other things about whatever they're interested in, but they don't know what you know. I have done this multiple times, and it's only when we've been talking about this, it's really interesting, me and Zoe talking about this, because obviously we've been in business a long time. You realise all the things that you've done. So there was a group that was helping women build their own businesses or get back into part-time employment after a time of maybe maternity leave, or maybe they've been on benefits for a while and they were trying to get either back into work. So it actually was a project that was linked with social services, but also this lady and she called it Successful Mums. And she was offering opportunities for them to learn new skills, like computer IT skills, but also if they wanted to start their own business, she was helping them with that. So I ran a session on like setting up a sole trader business. That was the session that I ran, and I ran it about 3 or 4 times, I think. So I'd go into the room. It'd be a lovely boardroom or something that she'd hired. She got a lot. Basically, she was leveraging the community to help these people so that they could access this funding. But there are loads of opportunities like that. There are loads of things where people want to step into entrepreneurship or a side hustle or anything. Now, so I think a lot of the time we think about running online webinars and Zooms and things, and of course you can, but there are lots of communities and opportunities for people to get together in a room. And you could go in for 15 minutes and talk to them about what's the difference between sole trader and limited company? What does HMRC want from you? Do you need your own bank account? What dates are the tax return? Whatever it is, you could literally go in and give really simple, and they'd be like, wow, I didn't know that. But in our group, we all think everyone knows that, but they don't. And actually, it's really simplistic. Yesterday, even, I ran a webinar with Johan about just going through the autumn statement. And we just literally had a chat for half an hour. What was the things that were mentioned? What do we think about it? I don't really, it wasn't really that much of a wow autumn statement, not loads to talk about, but it was just sharing the facts. You can do that as well. So you've got so much access to so many things that you don't realize that other people would love to know. So I think this is a really, especially if you can find a group of people. And we're going to be talking to Jodie about this as well, because Jodie Parsons has done this recently as well. It's really powerful because, again, you're putting yourself out there as the expert, not knowing absolutely everything. If someone asks you a question you don't know the answer to, I did something the other day. Someone asked me about investing in property to do something with their pension. I had no idea. So great question. Thank you so much. I'm going to note it down and I'll get back to you and let you know. That's all people care about. I never know all of the answers, and it's absolutely fine.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Thanks, Jo. Lots of people saying that they can do Zoom or online webinars, or, we do something that people don't understand. That's it, exactly. Just what's the problem they've got they need to solve? What's the thing that comes up regularly? What questions are people asking you? Because if they're asking you and you're getting that question more than once, it's probably a bigger problem that people need an answer to. That's your workshop, that's your training. Also, like just what you just said about the autumn statement, that was on the news. The autumn statement was on the news. It was all over the news all day. Like it was everywhere, but people still don't know. And I think this is the other thing, just like people don't see everything we post on social media, so we should post 10 times as much as we think we should. We need to keep sending the same message 10 times more than we think we should, because people still haven't heard the message. So how do you get people to attend? Advertise it, put posters up. If it's a co-working space, leave flyers out on the desks, go to Vistaprint or Moo or something and get some leaflets printed out, stick them around, put it in the coffee room above the coffee machine, leave it in people's pigeonholes. That's what I'd do.
And as well, if you do have clients already, invite them along as well and tell them that they can invite other people. Because then they might be like, oh, my bookkeeper's doing this. Would you like to attend? So that's like a referral as well. Yeah. So use your current network.
Yes, love this. Oh, this is a good session, isn't it, Jo? Yeah. If I say so myself. But I love that. I love that. Just seeing the comments, it's clearly helpful, which is good.
Someone's just asked the question, what is a co-working space, please?
Oh, sorry. In a lot of towns and cities, you'll get a sort of office building which has been created for the purpose of lots of small businesses being able to have shared working space. So it's the kind of thing where you can go in and hire your own small office, so you can rent an office without taking on a massive lease. It's usually on like a month by month or quarterly basis, or you can hot desk. So it just means you've got a working space away from home. Sometimes people use them sometimes they're available as registered offices and things like that as well. So it's kind of, if you want to have a business premises, but really you work from home, it's like your way in. So I've used places in Bristol where I've had an actual office building, like an actual room that locks and, all of that. But I've also worked in other places, room that locks, Jo, you're laughing at me. But also, so more of a formal space with a lease, but also desks where I pay like an hourly rate to go in and use the desk, or a weekly amount to be able to go in whenever I want, that sort of thing.
I've got the opportunity to work in a new co-working space at the moment with my local yoga and wellness studio. So they've got so where I go and do all my meditation and all of this, they've got a lovely space out the front with natural light, and they've set up all these little tables and chairs with blankets, and there's a library and everything and loads of plugs. And they've said, as member, we can book it 1 day a week to go and work there and get away. It's like, if you're working from home and you'd like to get away from the office and maybe join us for yoga at lunchtime, there's tea and coffee and everything, you can come and join. So actually, I think there's some different opportunities. And I'm thinking about that. If I was running my practice now, I would definitely be going along to that, because there'd be other people there that are running businesses themselves. We could have a chat and figure out, and I could ask them the questions and see what they're, see what's going on for them. So it's a great opportunity to, network.
I think it was useful for me for having a meeting room. If I needed to have a private meeting room, I could book one, and that made a difference for meetings in person. But also those kind of things where you can meet people who are prospects and have conversations, and but I also felt like there was part of it that was like going to a job, which I kind of resisted, and I wouldn't want to make it my 5 day a week thing. No. But 1 day a week sounds like a really good balance to get you out and do. If you're going there anyway for yoga or something, working there too makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Perfect. Oh, okay, right. Professional associations is the next one. So you're probably a member of a professional body. They are likely to have a directory where you can list your services, which is searchable. And because they are a bigger presence than we are, it's likely to come up higher in search results. So if people are looking for a bookkeeper in your local area, that will probably come up, or they might know to go and look in that directory. The other one is software directories. So the software directories have a listing as well, so you can go in and say, this is the level I am at. And not that I think people even really know if you're a bronze or silver or gold or anything. They just need to know a name. Usually people are like, I can't find a bookkeeper anywhere, even though there's thousands of us here.
Yeah, and I have got clients from both of those, definitely both. And I've also turned away people that have approached me from both of those. Just thinking about one of the most recent ones, I was actually at a Xero Partner Advisory Council meeting in the Xero offices, and I had a discovery call booked in, and I said, I've got this booked in, I'll excuse myself. They gave me a separate room. It was lovely. And when the guy, I was like, where have you found me? He was like, the Xero directory. And I'm like, I'm actually in Xero's offices now. I feel like I work for them. It was really weird. But what was interesting is he wanted somebody that dealt with Xero projects. And I was like, we don't do that. Let me find you someone else that does. And he was, do you know what he said? He was like, because you've said that you don't want to do it, he's like, I want to work with you even more. And he has now just upped his, he's having cash flow management accounts, and we are managing his projects, which he didn't really need projects, actually, what turned out. But what was interesting is that I think being honest and saying what your limitations are, people love that. I think so many times people have people that BS their way through and say, oh yeah, I can do all these things. So I just found that was a really interesting interaction, that I actually said no to him. I gave him some recommendations. 3 weeks later, he came back and went, actually, I really want to work with you. We can figure out this projects thing. So that's, just thought that was
That's really good, because I know that when you go on like professional directories, for example, it lists all the things you can do, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's the things you want to do. Like, I'd like to be able to control what the ticks are. So that, because I think, excuse me, there's like, we feel a need to say, I can do all the things, but actually, we, in our mastermind, we talk about having your gold standard service, and you want to really just say you deliver the things in your gold standard service. So that's interesting. Maybe if the professional bodies and software providers are listening, that would be a really good thing to be able to control in the directory listings.
Absolutely.
Cool. Okay, next one then. Collaborating with accountants. How do you feel about this, Jo?
So I feel that I've had good experiences and bad experiences with this. But with all of those experiences, I'm going to take responsibility and ownership of the facts. So when I used to go into relationships with accountants, that sounded weird. I meant like professional relationships with accountants. When I went into professional relationships, I very much felt like I was the lower person in the relationship, that I had less skills, less knowledge, and therefore I let them lead the conversation, let them decide on how the relationship was going to work. They set the fees, blah, blah, blah. So then, funny enough, it didn't really work out very well. And worked with one accountant for 5 or 6 years, and it was great. I mean, he wasn't, he was charging me out £35 an hour. I was getting £13.50, which now looking back wasn't great, but it was a good relationship. He respected me. I liked the work I was doing. He let me pick and choose which work I did take on and didn't take on, and I learned a lot from him. So at that time, that was a good thing for me. I wouldn't say that that's the best way to build a business, but it built my confidence up and at a time when I didn't have any. And my children were very, very, very young at the time. And he allowed me to have complete flexibility, which back then, I'm talking about early 2000s, mid 2000s, working from home around the kids, picking and choosing my hours was amazing. None of my friends were able to do that. So I felt it was good back then. Nowadays, what I'd say is that there are some amazing opportunities to work with accountants who have the right mindset, values as you. It's very much like picking an ideal client. If you can find an accountant that has got a client base that you would like to work with, that you can set maybe it's a percentage of the fees or something like that rather than an hourly rate, but making sure that they're charging correctly. You can definitely learn lots about their processes and how they go out, and you can get a great stream of leads that way. Absolutely. So I think it's great, but just knowing that you are worthy of this, like you're giving and bringing just as much to this conversation and this relationship as they are, and not to go in it thinking that you need to listen to everything and that they're God and that everything they say is right. I think that's what I've learned over the years.
Yeah, I think I agree. And I think it's really useful to have a network of accountants. Just like Joe was saying about Xero projects, it's really useful to have people in your network who do the other things. So when you can say, actually, this isn't my area of expertise, without saying to them, you're not my ideal client, knowing they're not your ideal client and knowing that isn't the right work for you. And then being able to say, but I know someone who can help you with this bit, or where if you were in the situation where you do the bookkeeping and then at the end of the process, the accountant does the year-end submissions, you've got someone you can work with in that way, where you've got a subcontractor agreement. That just, I think, can be a really good way to having that network gives you confidence that you can sometimes deliver things or that you can hand things over to someone else. Also, though, I've found that collaborating with people like financial advisors who have complementary services can be really helpful as well, because those people, so if you think a financial advisor might have a conversation with someone who wants a mortgage and that person hasn't done their tax return yet, so they might need somebody to come in and do the tax return. So that kind of relationship can work out quite well as well, as a kind of introducer. So I think that those kind of collaborations can be really helpful.
So true. Mortgage advisors, IFAs, anybody that your insurance brokers, if you can start being that little black book that your clients come to, and you can then vice versa. I mean, back in the day, because I am this old, on this list, I would have had bank managers. I literally had a network of bank managers that I used to go to NatWest breakfast meetings and things like that, where I would go, and I knew about 5 or 6 bank managers who I used to talk to all the time. Actually, I trained one of them to become a bookkeeper because he wanted to get out of being a bank manager, which is interesting. But yeah, back in the day, they were an amazing person to know and network with, but not so much anymore. But there are so many professional industries out there that you can collaborate with, but really you can help with your clients with, and have a chat with your clients. Who would you like people that help you with wills and things like that as well. How can you help them have a better financial security in their life as well? Because they've all of these professionals are talking to other people that need you. So it's great.
Amazing. Okay, number 8 is local SEO. Now, SEO means search engine optimization, and we've had a guy on the podcast called Chris. Can't remember Chris's surname. And we've been talking about SEO with him, and also Lamara Craythorne did a great session with us about SEO as well. She was great. So we've had a few conversations about this. What it means is about having the keywords on your website so they come up in search results. So if you are a bookkeeper in Gravesend, you might want your website to come up at the top. If people search for bookkeeper in Gravesend, which is the kind of search term they might be typing in, you want to come up at the top of the search results. So you can put lots of keywords in your website behind the scenes using various tags and headings and things that will help it perform better. So you can get support with that. And I know you've done that on your website as well. So I wasn't always thinking like locally necessarily, but you've done that in the past. Not, I don't think, for Joe Wood Virtual FD.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it didn't come up there. But yeah, in the past, when I had Aqua Bookkeeping or A4G Bookkeeping and Payroll, I had all these businesses I've had in the past. Yeah, definitely. I was serving the local businesses because I wasn't virtual back then. Like pre-2019, I was always looking for local. So yeah, I definitely was making sure that I was mentioning Gravesend a lot, and you can add things like blogs and things that talk about the local area and things, so that people, so yeah, it would definitely, I would often go in to Google and search Bookkeepers and Gravesend and see where I was coming up a lot of the time. And that was the other thing, actually, the ICB would come up as well as I remember in the past, I don't know so much now, but because I had a directory and it was ICB Bookkeeper and I was listed as Gravesend, that would come up on the first page somewhere as well. So that was interesting.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, so that's something that you can think about as well in terms of finding clients. So this is more like when they're looking, just making sure you do come up in the results. That's an important one you can do. And actually everyone can do that. You know, if you've got a website, go and type in bookkeeper in. If you're a local bookkeeper in your town, or if you're a industry bookkeeper for salons or something, and see if you come up, because that's going to be a starting point for that. The next one is offer free resources. So I'm thinking the kind of thing people want to pass around to other people. We had a good chat about this before we came on live. And you know, when you get freebies and you get like pens and stuff, pens with people's websites on. I've always got a Xero pen or a free agent pen hanging around. But I think hopefully, I feel like it's sort of like the ultimate freebie you might want to pass around. I wrote a book, and that was something that I was then able to give to clients and leave around at sort of networking groups and things like that. Now, you might think, well, if you tell everyone everything they need to do in a book, a bit like the Bookkeeper Rises, if we tell you everything you need to do in a book, what doesn't that mean I'm not going to get any clients? I would say absolutely not. By putting what you know in a book and making it available, you know, you can never tell everyone everything. This conversation we're having right now, not in the book. So, you know, you can never tell everything you know in one place. But by writing a book, you're saying, hey, actually, I'm an expert in this area. I'm credible. I'm the real thing. I'm not like, you know, I really do exist. I've taken the time to write a book. I really know about this. And that was something that definitely was passed around. So that was I feel like that was a good credibility builder and a really good freebie. But there's smaller things you can do too.
Do you know what I did, which I'd forgotten about until I went to the salon that I frequent, who was still a client of the practice? I gave them all Christmas decorations for their tree with their business, a little star with their business name on it. And actually for this client, because she was my first salon client, I actually did a star with each member of staff's name on it as well. So when I went in there today, she was like, oh my goodness, so many people ask us where our Christmas decorations come from. And that was like 4 years ago. So it's really like a silly thing, but you could have it with your business name on. But people love it about that. Like personalized is like the extra step. And obviously that's your current clients. But the thing that accountants and bookkeepers used to do all the time, which no one does anymore that I've seen, is that the little fold out thing about all the tax rates and everything. And we were like going on like calendars and things like that. But that tax rate, I used to have mine on my desk all the time and check things out all the time. But it's like, how could we make that more fun these days? How could it be more interactive? I mean, you know, like business cards and things. Like I see people doing really innovative things. Oh, Isabel Clark, our IFA, like she's got the paper with the seeds in it, so you can actually plant her business card and leave flowers in your garden. I mean, how
she
cute
also
is that?
gives you loads. Whenever I get anything from Isabel, she sends us loads of them. So she's like, give one to a friend, which is a really good idea. And I would want to give someone something with seeds to put in their garden.
So cute.
But, you know, we've got calendars that we're sending out to people who support us in our network. But I mean, I'll tell you what, those tax cards, I've had one up here. I've only seen one in the last few years. I'm pointing at my notice board. Yeah,
it's one of
if
those
you have one,
things.
tell us. We'll give you our PO box address.
Yeah, because it's one of those things that was done in the past and became outdated. But what I think we're noticing, Zoe, and I think everything we've said about here, is that we can be so focused on the social media, so focused on content, so focused on getting things out there on these platforms that we forget that actually is a massive gap in the market for going back 15 years. And what do we used to do then? Because actually it's a bit different. Like we love to send cards. Zoe's always writing cards. We love sending things that like it's personal rather than just a WhatsApp message. How can we bring back those things? I got sent biscuits the other day. Like it was just so lovely. And one of the biscuits had my name in like iced on it. It's just so cute. I'm not all about the gifts, but I just think there are things that we can learn from this that people like something tangible, and it doesn't have to be
about
expensive.
like what are the things you can never find? Like in our house, you can never find scissors, you can never find sellotape. I've got a ruler from Woolworths. Who knows when Woolworths went out of business? Like that's a thing that's always on my desk. Can never find a pencil sharpener.
A trolley pound.
A trolley pound.
I've got AA trolley pounds. I love them.
Yeah, I was talking to Emma James about trolley pounds actually for her business, a Number Ninja, and she was going to networking. I was like, trolley pounds. I always need a trolley pound. But I think it's just thinking about those kind of things. What is there a tangible thing that they're likely to keep forever? Because often when we go to events and we're thinking, I need to put a free thing in the bag, we naturally go to postcard or flyer. But they're going to put it in the bin. Think about what you do when you get home with things like that. But if it has a purpose and you're going to need it around for the next year. Someone I got when I was at a conference earlier, someone gave me this is like a business card. It's like a card you can tap on people's phones and then it brings up your details or something. But I didn't use it because you had to install something and I didn't know if the client would have to install it. So I was like, but it's the kind of thing where I'm like, this is a thing I would keep. If it had their branding on it, I would be seeing them all the time. So what are the things you keep? Think about the last conference you went. What is a trolley pound? Simon, a trolley pound is the coin you put in the trolley at the supermarket. Are you in the UK? When you go to the supermarket and you have to put a pound in, you can have a little coin that's on your key ring instead. So you don't have to always have a pound, because my pound always becomes the tooth fairy pound. And then I don't have a pound. So
that's the thing. Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. I love that. Yeah. You can get them so you can have it created so that your brand's on top. We could have a 6-figure. We could have a number 6 with a
I feel like that's going to happen.
I think it's going to happen. I'm so excited.
But I think one of the things to think about, is all this stuff costs money. So you need to be thinking about return on investment. Is it worthwhile? If you're going to an event and you're going to an event and you know you're going to want to give something away, just think about longevity of it. None of us want to be cutting down trees to make flyers people throw in the bin. So what's the thing that people really need where you're going to get a really good return?
Is important. Sustainability is definitely important. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Okay, final one, number 10. Number 10, I think number 10 is so simple and we say it all the time, but we've got to remember it. This one is about word of mouth. You already have a network. You have friends, family, clients, acquaintances, people on the school gates, people in clubs and communities that you're a part of. You need to make sure everyone knows what you do. If they know really what you do and who you help, they can spread the word for you.
I would suggest here, giving like a little bit of a challenge, if you've got a family WhatsApp group or a friends WhatsApp group or a social club or a sports club, a group that you would go into once a week, once a month, whatever. If you went in there and you said to them, I've been set a challenge by my business coach. What do you think I do? Ask them and see if they've got it right. Now, I knew I was getting it right when I think I told this on a previous boot camp. She's 13 now, but she was 11 at the time. And she phoned me up, my daughter, and she said, Mum, I think I've got a client for you. I'm at the horses yard. Someone was moaning about paperwork and they mentioned the word invoices. And I said, my mum can help you with that. And I've given her your number. I know she knew roughly what it was that I did and how I was helping. So yes, you like this challenge. Brilliant. Yeah, go and do it, because I think we assume so much. And I said this recently. I got congratulated the other day by one of my really close friends. I shared that I had started, I shared a Facebook memory from 5 years ago when I started Six Figure Bookkeeper, the Facebook community. It was 2018. And I shared on my Facebook, I was like, I'm starting something new. I'd love, if you know any bookkeepers, blah, blah, blah. My friend reposted it in our WhatsApp group and went, everyone, let's congratulate Jo on her new venture. She had no idea that was 5 years ago and I'd been running it. I don't, it made me laugh. Now, she's not on Facebook a lot, but it made me laugh, and it just shows. I think I'm talking about it all the time. I think, but we're not. And she's a really good friend. Actually, she works at an estate agent's, and she has loads of connections. She didn't have a clue what I did. Didn't have a clue about Six Figure Bookkeeper. So I just think it's interesting, and it's fun, because as well, when they get it wrong, or if they get it right, it's great. Doesn't matter. Either way, it's cementing to the rest of the group what it is that you do. And you've got an opportunity to really tell them who it is you help, how you help them, and be really specific here, rather than just saying something like, I'm a bookkeeper. They don't know what that means. Explain how you help people, who the type of people you help. So you could say something like, I help sole traders, who like one-man bands. Put it in there. I help one-man bands get organized with their paperwork and make sure that their tax return is in on time and they can sleep at night. Something like that, really specific, so that they can help you spread the word.
Love it. I love this. Someone else has pointed out here, sorry we didn't mention this, but we were talking about SEO, and someone said Google My Business page. Everyone can have, if you've got a Google account, you can have a Google My Business page. They need to validate your address, I think, for the listing to be there, but that's free advertising. So if someone was searching for the name of your business, it should come up in the top right hand side if you've done Google My Business. That's a free one.
Very good. Thank you. That's a really good one. Really good one.
So how long does it take to find clients in these ways? So there are lots of things we can do here. And I think and we'll talk about ideal client later. Oh, sorry, cats. I don't know what just happened. That my cats are terrified. Something fell over. One of the things, we'll be talking about ideal client tonight in the 8 o'clock session. So come along to that one. And we'll talk about how you sort of refine what we've gone through today to be relevant for your ideal client, because the temptation is to go and everyone's going to be ordering trolley coins today and going to sponsor their local football team and, working out, like sending this WhatsApp message and all of that. And some of these are going to be really good things for you to do, but other of them are going to be completely pointless. So we need to just remember which ones are going to be worthwhile for us. When we start doing these things, what we really have to remember ultimately, I think, is that it doesn't happen straight away. You're not going to find clients straight away. No. But what we need to do is be really consistent, decide what we're going to do, and keep going and going and going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think no one is an overnight success. It may appear that they are. You may look at someone and think, wow, like they've done this really quickly. And don't get me wrong, there are people that get results quickly, not saying that, but they put in the foundations, and it's like they're doing these things when no one else is watching. That's what makes someone successful. They're getting up early and going to the networking when no one else is watching. They're having conversations with their current clients. They're thinking about how to spread the word by, reaching out to local communities and offering workshops and things. Obviously, all of this stuff can then be shared on socials as well and can be, leveraged. But a lot of the stuff that I did, it's a very, very long time that I was doing things and very slowly growing back in the day. But it's because I was maybe choosing one of them as a strategy, whereas I think a layered approach and doing multiple things, but being consistent is the thing. And like I say, sometimes I would get something back 3 years later after doing something. Like, it was a really long time, but people still remembered me. And even when, I changed career at one point and went into network marketing, and people got really confused. But aren't you the bookkeeper? And I'm thinking, you've never talked to me about bookkeeping. What do you mean? How do you know that? But they did know. But maybe I hadn't shared enough with them so that they could help me out. That's really, I think, when I started really explaining and showing people how they could help me and who I was looking for, that's when things really changed.
Yeah. So patience, consistency, make sure everybody knows and you're saying it over and over again. Someone's asked us to recap the last 2. Shall I recap the 10 that we've got? And then there's a question from Natalia as well, which I'll answer. 10 ways to find clients without social media, networking events, referral programs, local advertising, industry advertising, workshops and seminars, professional associations and directories, working with your accountant network, local SEO, offering free resources, word of mouth, bonus one, Google My Business. And then the question here is, I haven't read this question, so I'm just going to go freestyle. Everyone talks about knowing your worth as a bookkeeper. I often run into this situation when people are looking for an accountant who does bookkeeping as well, not a bookkeeper who doesn't do accountants' jobs. Okay, so how can you see a bookkeeper's worth? Okay, so this is about, if you don't offer the accounts service, how do you express your worth as a bookkeeper, providing the bookkeeping part? I feel like we can go into this in a lot of detail. And tomorrow night in our session at 8 o'clock, we're going to be talking about the gold standard service. We mentioned this briefly today. It's something we work through in our mastermind, and we want you to design a service which is perfect for your ideal client. I feel like this fits really well in that conversation, and we can really do it loads of justice, Natalia. But to give you a very short answer, I would be looking for the people who need the bookkeeping service only because they have an accountant already at the year end, but they've been trying to do the bookkeeping themselves potentially, or they've got someone, and that bookkeeping, the requirement for bookkeeping has grown beyond their zone of expertise and they're stuck for some reason, and that's causing them a problem for some reason. That's where you're really valuable, because you can solve that problem for them.
Yeah, and it's the ones that have got the accountants that only speak to them after the year end, and they're like, we don't know where we are 1 month to the next. That's where the bookkeepers add loads of value. Looking forward to that session as well. I think today has been juicy. I hope everyone's been writing their list and have got loads of ideas. It's really interesting, isn't it? Like when we were thinking about this initially, we're like, oh, what have we done? But then you start remembering, and it's because it's been multiple things that we've been doing over years. But I think that's a good list of 11 there.
Off you go. Yeah, off you go, everyone. That's your homework for the next hour before we get back together. Look, there have been loads of light bulb moments in this session, and I'd love to give a t-shirt away. Yes. Joe, I need you to choose a number between 1 and 27, please.
I'm going to go for lucky number 13.
Lucky 13. Sorry, it's me counting in my head. Veronica Patino. Her light bulb moment was to offer a workshop or webinar. Veronica, we're going to send you one of our Bookkeeper Life t-shirts. So we will, if you can email us, hello@sixfigurebookkeeper.com, we will get in touch and we'll sort out sending that out to you as well. The other person, I hope this is okay, Joe, I'm just freestyling. The person who suggested Google My Business,
yes,
I'd like to send you a t-shirt as well, but I can't see your name. So I'm just having a little look through the chat for it. I'm going to see if I can find the comment and pop it on the screen. Is it Luna?
I can't see
it. Luna?
Oh, someone said Luna.
It just says yes. Facebook user from our point of view. Oh, yay, Luna, great. We will get in touch, Luna, and we'll send that over to you as well. Perfect, yes. Amazing. Oh, wow, really nice to see everyone here. Thank you for being here. We're going to be back at 1 o'clock. We're having a chat with Steph Merrill at 1, aren't we, about her practice. So come and hear from Steph. Steph's an accountant. She will tell you she doesn't find her clients on social media. So we're going to build on what we've been talking about in this session. Thank you so much for being here. And looking forward to the rest of an amazing day. See you later.
See you later. Bye.